Bear down, Windy City. The bomb just dropped and Hollis Hall hasn't said a word yet, and that alone should make you nervous. Taylor Decker, $60 million. The left tackle who already knows Ben Johnson's scheme by heart is available, and Bleacher Report just connected him directly to the Bears. In a minute, I'll break down why this could be Ryan Poles' smartest move of the offseason, but also why there's a real argument that Chicago is going to regret it come November. While that's happening, ESPN just declared the Bears are the best fit for Von Miller, 37 years old, 138 career sacks, and the question that changes the entire defensive picture in Chicago is whether he can still flip a season, or if he's just a Band-Aid on a wound that runs a lot deeper than the coaching staff wants to admit. And to close things out, something nobody in the Windy City saw coming today, Demetri Felton announced his retirement. And the way he did it says more about this sport than any million-dollar contract ever could. All of that right now. Let's go. Let's get real for a second because Bleacher Report just linked the Bears to Taylor Decker, former left tackle of the Detroit Lions. And if you care about this offense, about Ben Johnson's system, about Caleb Williams' future in the Windy City, you need to understand why this matters way more than it might look at first glance. Let's start with the problem. Ozzie Trapilo, the starting left tackle Chicago drafted to build their future trench, ruptured his patellar tendon in the playoffs, and that is not a minor injury, fam. That is a season-ending injury. He is gone for 2026. That is confirmed. So, who is left? Braxton Jones. And look, I respect the man, but I am going to keep it a buck with you. Braxton Jones has an injury history that makes you nervous, and his level of play has never been the kind where you say, yeah, that blind side is locked down. He has never been that guy. And 2 years ago, Caleb Williams was sacked 68 times in a single season. 68. That is a number that gives you nightmares if you are a quarterback or if you are a Bears fan wearing your navy and orange on a Sunday. So what does Ryan Poles do? What does this front office do? That is where Taylor Decker comes in. Decker is 32 years old. He signed a 3-year, $60 million contract with the Lions, a deal he inked when Ben Johnson was still the offensive coordinator in Detroit. And that is not a throwaway detail. That is a direct connection to the scheme. Decker knows Johnson's offensive philosophy. He does not need to learn the system from scratch. He knows the cadences. He knows the blocking on screens. He knows what is asked of a left tackle in this specific offense. The Lions cut him with 1 year remaining on his deal. And yes, Decker was not the same player in 2025 that he was at his best, but he still posted a 67.9 overall grade on Pro Football Focus. That is not elite, but it is not bad either. That is a competent starter. That is a tackle good enough for a team pushing for the playoffs. And most importantly, he protects the blind side at a higher level than Braxton Jones right now. Listen, I get the logic from people saying, bro, Decker is declining. He is 32. Why would you sign someone like that? I get it. But here's the tactical reality. Braxton Jones as the starting left tackle protecting Caleb Williams in year 3 is not acceptable for a team that is billing itself as a contender. It is not, and if Decker is available on a 1-year deal at a reduced price, that is exactly the kind of move you make when your starting tackle tears his patellar tendon in January. Look, I could be wrong, but the connection to Ben Johnson feels decisive to me. Decker is not walking into a strange system. He's walking in to play for a head coach who knows him, who knows what he can give, who understands his limitations. And in a transition year at left tackle, that is worth its weight in gold. Also, think about the full picture we're looking at here. The Bears lost DJ Moore. They lost Olamide Zaccheaus. The offensive line has an open wound at left tackle. And if Caleb Williams starts taking consistent pressure before his new receivers get on the same page with him, this thing can get complicated fast. A young quarterback under constant pressure falls back into bad habits. He leaves the pocket early. He breaks roots. The criticism starts rolling in. Bears have to protect that development. They have to protect that blind side. And if Decker is sitting in free agency and you can sign him cheap for 1 year, fam, that is not a decision you sit on. ESPN just said the Chicago Bears are the best fit for Von Miller. And fam, that sentence alone opens up a massive conversation. Because Von Miller in 2026 is 37 years old. He has 138.5 career sacks. He was at one point arguably the best pass rusher on the planet. And now we are sitting here debating whether the Bears should sign him. Let me give you the full context. After the draft, the Bears were left with a giant question mark at edge rusher. They did not land an elite pass rusher in free agency. They did not take an edge rusher in the draft. Their apparent plan is the return of Dayo Odeyingbo coming off an Achilles injury and Shamar Turner coming off a torn ACL, two young players with recent serious injury histories as the foundation of your pass rush. Plus Montez Sweat as the established leader. Matt Bowen at ESPN says Miller could fit as a sub-package defender, a designated pass rusher who comes on the field on obvious third and long situations. And in that specific role, Miller can still be useful. Last season, he had 9 sacks with the Washington Commanders, 9 sacks that if he had been playing in Chicago would have put him just one behind Montez Sweat as the team leader. But let's be honest about what Von Miller is today. He is not the disruptor he was in Denver. He is not the player who won 2 Super Bowls and was MVP of one of them. He is a situational specialist, a veteran who can give you pressure in specific packages, who can mentor younger players, and who knows the playoffs like very few people in this league. The NFC North demands attention here. Y'all don't understand how stacked this division is getting. Jared Goff is not suddenly going to drop off. Jordan Love has his offense almost completely intact, and now Kyler Murray lands in Minnesota with Kevin O'Connell, the quarterback resurrection specialist himself. That is a lot of firepower coming from inside the division. The Bears need to be able to get to the quarterback. They need to generate pressure, and if Montez Sweat cannot carry that load alone while Odeyingbo and Turner get healthy, this season gets harder than expected real fast. Now, the beat reporters at Bear Report make an important point. The Bears coaching staff says they are comfortable with what they have, and they are pointing to coaching as the way to improve the pass rush. And I understand that philosophy. Dennis Allen has a history of developing pass rushers through scheme. They might be right, but it is also true that signing Miller on a cheap one-year deal is exactly the kind of low-risk, potentially high-reward move that makes sense for the 9th youngest team in the NFL. You add veteran leadership to the locker room. You add playoff experience. You add an extra name that offensive coordinators around the league have to account for in their game planning. The only real risk is that Miller becomes a Band-Aid when the wound at the edge rusher depth is actually deeper than that, and that point is valid. After this season, the Bears are going to need to invest seriously in that position again regardless. Demetri Felton announced his retirement from the NFL, and the way he did it deserves real respect. Felton spent time with the Bears in 2024, that final chaotic season under Matt Eberflus at Hollis Hall. He did not play much. They waived him. He came back to the practice squad. They waived him again. That is the reality of being a roster bubble player in the NFL, especially when you are 5'9" and 189 pounds trying to find your role somewhere between running back and wide receiver. But what he said in his statement hit different. He wrote, "I am not retiring because I am hurt. I am not retiring because I do not love this game. I am retiring because I know there is a football player out there who needs me." And just like that, he is heading to player development with the Cleveland Browns, the same team that drafted him in the 6th round back in 2021. That is class. That is a man who understands what he lived through, the journeys he made, the teams that cut him, and decides to turn all of that experience into something that helps the next guy coming up. For the Bears, the running back conversation is still open. DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai are locked in as the top 2. The 3rd spot is a competition between Roshan Johnson, Britton Brown, and UDFA Coleman Bennett. And the beat reporters around the team are pointing to names like Austin Eckler coming off a season-ending injury in 2025 and potentially willing to accept a cheap prove-it deal as a realistic fit. But today, the focus is on Felton and what his story represents. A player who gave everything he had, who traveled the NFL from team to team searching for his shot, and who now decides to turn around and build the game from the inside. Full respect, man. This is exactly what makes being a Bears fan in 2026 so intense. Caleb's blind side is in play. The edge rush still has open questions. and the roster depth still needs work before training camp kicks off in Halas Hall, Ryan Poles has moves to make, and we are going to be right here covering every signing, every decision, every chess move that brings this team one step closer to ending that Super Bowl drought that has lasted since 1985. If this breakdown fired you up, drop a like right now. It is the easiest way to support this channel, and it tells the algorithm we're out here doing real work. And down in the comments, I want to know, do you sign Taylor Decker on a one-year deal to protect Caleb's blind side, or do you trust Braxton Jones to hold it down? Tell me below. We will see you in the next one. Bear down.